Hello everyone and welcome back to a new episode of the World of Horror. Today we are going to talk about the gruesome crimes that Andrei Chikatilo committed. Chikatilo experienced a terrible adolescence in the USSR's Ukraine state, where his first sexual encounter as a teenager ended abruptly and provoked widespread scorn, which subsequently inspired him to commit crimes of sexual violence. He confessed to the horrifying murder of 56 people when the police apprehended him. He was found guilty in 1992 and executed by gunshot in 1994. On October 16, 1936, in a village in the center of Ukrainian USSR, Andrei Romanovich Chikatilo was born. Chikatilo's genital urinary tract issues later in life included bedwetting until his late adolescence, and later the inability to sustain an erection, albeit he was able to ejaculate. Hydrocephalus, or water on the brain, is thought to have affected him at birth. This condition later caused him genital urinary tract problems. His father's enlistment in the war against Germany, where he was taken, held captive, and then reviled by his compatriots for permitting himself to be captured, caused chaos in their home. Chikatilo was the target of bullying at school as a result of the cowardice of his father. He was so painfully timid as a result that his only sexual experience throughout his teenage years was when he was 15 years old. It is said that he overpowered a young girl and promptly ejaculated during the short battle, for which he earned more scorn. His link of sex with violence was solidified, and his shame colored all of his subsequent sexual experiences. After failing his admission exam for Moscow State University, moved to a town near Rostov, and in 1960 he started working as a telephone engineer. His younger sister moved in with him, and after becoming concerned about his lack of success with the other six, she set up a meeting between him and Fayina, a local girl, whom he later married in 1963. They had 2 children and appeared to lead a typical family life, despite his sexual issues and lack of interest in traditional sex. Chikatilo decided to shift jobs and get into education in 1971. He was forced to transfer between schools as a result of numerous reports of indecent assaults on young children before settling at a mining school in Shakti, close to Rostov. Chikatilo had been seen with the victim just before she vanished, according to an eyewitness, but his wife gave him an unbeatable alibi that allowed him to escape further police investigation. 17-year-old Larisa Kachenko was his subsequent victim. She was gagged with dirt and leaves on September 3rd, 1981, and Chikatilo stabbed, choked, and strangled her to stop her from screaming. Chikatilo was able to express himself sexually thanks to the violent force, and he started to focus his attacks on young runaways of both sexes, before luring them into surrounding forests where he would attack them, try to rape them, and mutilate them with his knife. He made friends with them at bus and rail stops. He removed additional bodily parts, including the tips of their nose and tongues, or ate the sexual organs in a number of instances. Police efforts were dramatically enhanced when an additional 15 fatalities were discovered throughout the course of 1984, and they launched extensive surveillance operations that combed through most of the neighborhood's transportation centers. At this point, Chikatilo was detained for acting strangely at the bus stop, but he was once more cleared of suspicion in relation to the murder accusations, since his blood type did not match the suspect profile. However, he was given a 3-month sentence for a handful of unimportant, outstanding infractions. Chikatilo managed to maintain a low profile until August 1985, when he killed 2 women in separate events by working as a traveling buyer for a railroad firm with its headquarters in Novocherkassk. Early in 1988, Chikatilo started killing once more, with most of the killings taking place outside of the Rostov region. Victims were no longer snatched from nearby public transportation hubs because police surveillance in these locations remained. Over the following 2 years, there were an additional 19 deaths and it seemed that the killer was taking more risk, especially targeting young boys and frequently carrying out his murders in public areas where the likelihood of being caught was much higher. On November 6, 1990, shortly after killing his final victim, Sveta Korostik, patrolling police officers at a neighboring station noticed his strange conduct and took down his information. His name was connected to his earlier arrest from 1984 and he was under observation. Chikatilo was detained on November 20, 1990 as a result of additional suspicious behavior, but he first resisted confessing to any involvement in the death. Burakov made the decision to let Chikatilo speak with psychiatrist Bukanovsky, who had created the original profile, under the pretense of attempting to comprehend the killer's mentality from a scientific perspective. Chikatilo, who was obviously charmed by this approach, divulged considerable information to the psychiatrist about all of his murders and even directed authorities to the location of previously unidentified bodies. Only 53 of the 56 persons he claimed to have killed could be objectively verified, notwithstanding his claims. This number was significantly more than the initial 36 cases that the police had linked to their serial killer. On April 14, 1992, Chikatilo appeared in court after being deemed competent to stand trial and of sound mind. He was detained in an iron cage throughout the trial in order to separate him from the family members of his numerous victims. His behavior in court was described in the media as the maniac, and it was even alleged that he dropped his pants and waved his genitalia at the audience at one point. He displayed a wide variety of emotions, from boredom to manicness, singing and speaking gibberish. It was obvious that Chikatilo was guilty and that it was inevitable. Considering the judge's bias, it is astonishing that the decision was not made public until 2 months after the trial ended, on October 15, 1992, when Chikatilo was found responsible for 52 of the 53 murder charges. For each of the murders, he received the death penalty. The main argument of Chikatilo's appeal was that his psychiatric assessment that declared him competent to stand trial was unfair, but his strategy failed. He was fatally shot in the back of the head on February 14, 1994, 16 months after being captured. What a monster! It is very unfortunate that he wasn't caught earlier. Maybe then there could be more murders prevented. Thank you for watching and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Stay safe.